Okay, so day 3. Now, something that I did forget to add about day 2 was, after we would go to Mass at 9 a.m., we would do this hilarious, they would separate the women and the men, and we would do this hilarious, battle of the sexes type thing, and unfortunately I didn't get any footage of it, mainly because I was very, 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 very ticked off the first day. Because they would randomly pick one person from both groups, and we had to answer 3 questions. And of course the women's questions were all very manly stuff, and then the guys had very girly questions, which to this day I have no clue how the men figured out the questions that they had to answer. They had to say, what type of shoe has the most slender heel. Of course the answer to that is stiletto. The one I'm still boggled by, which I'm just somebody had to Google this, but they're the question was, what's the attachment that's, that can be put on a blow dryer that women can use if their hair is naturally wavy or curly, and that's a diffuser. But I was very aggravated because, unfortunately, the girls, we did lose, and, we lost by 1 point. We could have tied. The question that I knew the answer to, I was screaming it, but of course, majority of the women thought that they were right, so the girl on the stage couldn't hear me. Everyone around me heard me, though. But the question was basically, which out of these poker hands ranks the highest? And, there was, 2 of a kind. There was, I can't remember what the second one was, but then there was a, full house and flush. Me, I haven't played poker before. I knew the answer was full house. So when they said C, full house, I was like, yeah! And then when they said D, flush, for some reason all the girls started screaming and they thought it was flush. Of course the answer was full house. But besides the game, once the game was over, we got to listen to speakers for us, female and male speakers, just speeches that were basically directed for us, for women, about saving yourself and finding the right partner and things like that. And then after we listened to the speaker, we went to lunch, and this is what we did Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and sort of on Sunday too. But after lunch, which I already showed you in day 2, what that was like, we had these things called sessions. And if it's not obvious, a different time of day. I know it's kind of dark, but I figured this is a lot better than, since the sun is setting, than if I turn my special little light on for night filming. I don't know, I feel like that's too bright right now. We got to pick what we want to listen to. And I know Thursday I left it out, but I listened to this guy, I can't remember his name, but he spoke about, one of his speeches was called YOLO, you only live once. Funny thing part, he, of course, quoted Drake, as the original creator of the term YOLO from his song. But, he gave us, a motivational speech about his past and, how, becoming faithful to God, changed his life for the better. And then the second one that he gave was, it was called The Walking Dead. And of course it was a reference to the zombie apocalypse, but basically talking about how, in this world, in these modern times, so many people, they just go with the masses, like a zombie, and, it's best for you to kind of go on your own path and just not go with the flow with the crowd and, mainstream and things like that. I know it would have been disrespectful for me to record this next little thing I'm about to tell you, but I wish I did, because, I kind of gave you guys a good idea of what the first day was like for my group. And, there's close to 7,000 students from all over the country. I know most of the universities, they traveled by bus. Some flew to Orlando, Florida. But I know of one school, I don't remember which one, but, one school actually traveled 42 hours on bus to get to this conference. I got to meet someone who went to Notre Dame, again, Washington State, North Dakota, Kansas, Colorado, plenty of Midwesterners, and I believe that there were a few people from Harvard, too, but just students from all over America, you know. And so, you know, some of these people, they've been traveling for a long time, and they probably went through the same thing that we went through that first night. And so sitting in those sessions Thursday was just hilarious, and it was so hard for me. I mean, I showed you the group picture in my Day 2 vlog, the group picture that I had of us, and it's also the thumbnail for my Day 2 vlog. If you pick me out, you can see that, you know, I have on absolutely no makeup, because I was just that tired. And during these 2 sessions, the guy that spoke, he had a very monotone, soothing voice. I almost fell asleep. Both of those sessions were roughly an hour and a half. I almost fell asleep. And what even made it worse is if I wish I would have whipped my camera out. There was a guy 2 seats down from me. He was completely zonked out like. And in the row in front of me, the girl in front of me kept nodding off, and then there was a girl like 3 seats down from her that kept doing like this thing, and then when I turned around, 2 people behind me were sitting basically like this, but they were, it was just so funny. Just, it made me feel better about what we went through, since I was just like, okay, there are plenty of other people in this room that are just exhausted. But anyway, I didn't get any footage of those 2 sessions, but we did the sessions Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And this first clip I'm about to show you is actually the 2 sessions that me and, well, the first session that I went on with one of my bunkmates, Femi is her name, Matt Frad, the Australian guy. And he gave a really, really good inspirational speech that was just for women. Basically directed towards single female college students. And he basically just gave dating advice, you know, from a man's perspective, and, you know, what should be priorities, what shouldn't be priorities, and things like that. And he said one quote, and I did record this part of the 5 tips that he gave, you know, for finding the one or whatever. He said this one quote, and it really stuck with me. It stuck with me so much that I think I posted on Twitter and my personal Facebook account. But the quote that he said was, you know, directed to the single college students that were in the crowd. You know, find your bridesmaids and then find your groom. Something like just like, find your bridesmaid first, then your groom. And then he just went on, you know, he asked the question, you know, us to personally think about, you know, what if you had something traumatizing that happened? You lost your job, you lost your home, you lost your family. Do you have at least 2 good female friends that you can call to rely on? That would, you know, that would help you with everything that you needed. And then, of course, he posed the question of, you know, well, if you don't have any female friends, maybe you should reevaluate yourself. And then he also, you know, threw out there, well, if you do have female friends and you can't rely on any, then what does that have to say about the people that you surround yourself with? And, you know, this made me really think about something personal that's happened to me recently. And, you know, it made me think of the quote, you know, you are the company you keep. And the other quote, misery loves company. And then he began talking about, I think I have this recorded, but he then began talking about how, you know, are you friends with anybody that just does nothing but talk about other people? And he was just like, doesn't that make you feel uncomfortable? And does that ever make you wonder whether or not they talk about you when you're not around? Something that kind of hits close to home, because I have a very select few small group of female friends that I really trust, just because I've been through it, where I've had, you know, girlfriends be kind of shady and shysty and two-faced and things like that. And so most of my good friends are guys, but I do have a select few, which I'm sure you've seen in some of my past videos, set few female friends that I, you know, would trust with my life. But his speech was just very, very inspirational, and it was my favorite session out of all the ones that I went to that whole weekend. But I'll quickly cut to a clip of that. Now, along with that clip, I actually have, you know, I was rarely ever alone this whole weekend in Orlando. And I actually do kind of show myself a little bit during this speech, and I'm sure Femi was thinking, what is Rose doing? But this quick little snippet that you see of me, and just the look on my face, just shows you just how exhausted I was that day, because we were going non-stop, waking up at 7:30 a.m., having to constantly, be on point the whole day, with Mass and the speeches and the sessions and the exercises and things that we did, and then not going to bed, a lot of walking around and not going to bed until like 1 a.m., almost 2 o'clock in the morning. This was day 3, Friday. I was pretty pooped and just mentally, physically exhausted, which I kind of talked about that in my day 1 vlog, me censoring myself and stuff like that. But yeah, the little quick glimpse you see of me and the look on my face just basically, just sums up and symbolizes how I felt that day.
We don't need love, remember number 1. We don't need love, remember number 1. We don't need love, remember number 1. We don't need love, we don't need. Don't try to fascinate me, no baby, you won't figure this one out. Don't try, it doesn't faze me, cause baby won't feel no doubt. We don't need. Don't try to fascinate me, no baby, you won't figure this one out. Don't try, it doesn't
tear us down, who are negative, who backbite. I always feel uncomfortable around someone who talks about other people behind their back. Especially when they say stuff like, yeah, we should probably pray a rosary for Susie, who, I'm not sure if you know, is sexually promiscuous. But I'm saying that just so we can pray, because God, she doesn't know her dignity, It's like we can hide gossip under a veil of piety, But whenever someone speaks about someone behind their back to me, I'm like, that's it, I will never share anything of myself with you ever again, But are you surrounding yourself with good women? There's a beautiful story in the Gospels, Mark chapter 2.
Okay, so now it is too dark. But yeah, something I forgot to add about the clip I just showed you was that Femi and I decided to sit all the way in the back because she was going to have to leave me after that first session to do something with her family that was in Orlando. And, we didn't want to sit in the crowd when she would have to get up in the middle of it. And then plus, I was so tired that I kind of wanted to sit away from people. Just in case I would have fallen asleep. Of course, I didn't have any clue just how good that session was going to be with Matt Fred. But just in case I dozed off, I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of, all the girls. But also, secondly, I knew my group was coming, the rest of my group was coming to that room for the second session that Matt Fred was giving. So also, I figured if I sat all the way in the back by myself after Femi left me, I would be able to spot them easier, and sure enough, I did. Okay, and then this next clip that I have for you is just a little snippet of one of the church-related activities that we did that Friday night, and that was adoration. And, I'm not going to get too detailed, but adoration is basically a time that we devote to basically, just look at the word, adoration. It has a door. To just show our appreciation to Christ and, all that good stuff. And so, most of adoration, there's usually just basically a lot of music that's played and singing and things like that. And they held it in that big main room yet again and somehow fit almost 7,000 of us in there. And then we had this great band, and the little clip I have is of the band, and this is the band that played for us the whole weekend. They played some really great songs. I did choir all through school, like elementary, middle, and high school. I was in an advanced women's choir, and if you can't tell by my voice, I sang alto. And, but I'm very, very self-conscious of my singing voice, even though I've been told that, it sounds decent. I only sing around certain people, and normally when I'm in church, unless it's like Christmas midnight mass, I'll sing the Christmas songs, but besides that, I normally don't. But, you know, I was just so moved that night that by the midpoint of that evening, you know, they thankfully put the lyrics of the songs up on the screen, but somehow I just got moved and I began singing along, you know, with the crowd and everything and harmonizing and things like that. I definitely have never experienced anything like that before. You know, a room that's full of over 6,000 young people, and we're all sitting, and my group, we sat on the floor right in front of the band on the right side of the ballroom. You know, we're all doing and singing and just being moved by the music. And something else that they did that evening, they did this throughout the whole week, but 5,000 out of the 6,200 of us were so inspired to do it. We all decided to do it that Friday night, but basically all the priests and the seminarians, well, mainly all the priests, they were in the ballroom behind us, and they were basically given confessions. And I think there were 120 priests, I think. It was the most unique, kind of emotionally overwhelming experience that I've ever had when it comes to confessions. You know, I've done them in my life, you know. My first confession was probably when I was in high school, I think. So, but I never experienced anything like this. I stood in a line forever. And, you know, we found out Saturday morning that 5,000 of us that night did confession during adoration. And it was just a very moving experience, walking into that ballroom and seeing all the priests kind of lined up with their chairs in a chair. You know, some of the priests had the chairs where you would sit face to face and do your confession, and some had where, you know, one would face this direction, the other would face that direction, so, you know, you're not giving each other eye contact or whatever. For people, I guess, who just want to do it that way. And, you know, and each priest was separated, I would say, a good 8 to 10 feet all the way around, so, you know, it wasn't like we could hear each other. I have never, ever gotten emotional during a confession before, but just that night, and just everything that I had to say about myself to the father that I was told to go to, I just broke down. And now, the last thing that we did Friday night, I don't have any clips of because I went to it empty-handed, but they had like a 20s, this is what it's called, and this confused me and a couple people in my room. It was called a 20s Big Band Swing Dance Party. Now, when I think of the 20s, don't know if some of you guys know, some of you guys do know, but I do pinup model. And, you know, I've been kind of cutting in the beginning of my videos because I've gotten some hate from some trolls who don't believe that I do what I do. And I know I shouldn't even care or bother, but I do it anyway, just to kind of prove my point, and then to also help advertise the photographers that I've worked with. But I do pinup modeling, and so most of my pinup wardrobe is centered around like the 50s, the retro type thing. And so I'm very familiar with it. And when I think of the 20s, I think of Flappers. Like the show on HBO, Boardwalk Empire. That's what I think of. And I don't really associate, I know swing I think started, but like the big band jumpin' jivin', you know, swing stuff, I don't really associate with the 20s. I associate with the 50s, but because it said the 20s, I have nothing in my wardrobe that fits the Flapper 20, you know, the kind of loose, kind of baggy, sleeveless dresses, and the long pearls, and the cloche hats, and the finger wave hairstyles. I brought makeup with me that I thought would fit, but, you know, what I had in mind for swing, I did have some retro dresses that would have fit, but because it said 20s, I didn't bring them. And come to find out, when we went to this 20s big band swing dance party, there were some people dressed the way that I thought they would be dressed, you know, with the 50s retro and stuff like that. And then there were a lot of people that were dressed 20s style, like Flapper girls and stuff like that. But anyway, we went to the swing thing. I only have really only one picture from that, which I'll insert for you guys. And it was fun. It was very chaotic. It's like we were in a really big ballroom, and they had all these colorful lights that made it look retro and stuff, and this big screen that played, they had a camera going throughout the crowd, and the screen played it in black and white and gave it that, 8mm type filter, so it looked like it was old. And they had a fantastic swing band that was performing, and a singer that kind of reminded me of a blonde Jessica Rabbit that sang on the stage. But it was great. Kind of sad I didn't bring my camera, but because, I was ready to actually do some swing dancing, I didn't want to have to bother, carrying it around. But I'll insert that picture for you here.
We don't need love.
And then that was basically it for a Friday night. That swing dance party, it started at 11. We only stayed there for like about an hour because we were just so tired, so pooped. We were tired, back to our rooms. Now, about to forget something. Something that we did do because we were just craving sweets. We ordered, me and Femi actually ordered room service. She ordered creme brulee, and I ordered something that was called a triple chocolate cake. Her creme brulee was delicious. Mine was too, but it totally did not turn out the way I thought it would. The menu unfortunately didn't have a description. It just said triple chocolate cake, so I was envisioning a big sliced, like, juicy cake. No, it was like a cookie wafer with, like, chocolate mousse with this chocolate shell and this fancy square, like, piece of chocolate stuck in the middle of it. It was, like, this big. It was still delicious, but, it wasn't really what I expected, and, with all the extra fees added to it, a $7 piece of chocolate cake that I thought would be, like, this big, that only turned out to be this big, with all the extra, like, room service fees and stuff added to it, it basically came to almost $12, $13. And I hate to say, the guy that came and delivered it to our room was a douche. Yeah, he definitely wasn't magical. We had a guy that came to our room 2 nights before to, like, unclog our toilet, and he was, like, the sweetest guy, so friendly, so patient. Even when he was leaving the room, he was like, I hope you ladies have a magical experience. He left us feeling tingly, but this room service dude definitely turned out to be a douche. Just have to say that. But I'll insert a couple pictures of our dessert so you can kind of see, what we paid for. But that basically was it for our Friday night. I hope you guys are enjoying these random reflective vlogs I'm doing on my Seek 2013 experience. Day 4 will be uploaded hopefully tomorrow morning sometime. And actually the day 4 video, I'm basically going to sum up day 5 because I don't really have any footage from that day. So that will be the last of this series. Again, if you have any questions about anything so far, please don't hesitate to ask, and you guys will see me tomorrow. And after I'm done with this series, all my regular monthly beauty videos, my empties, my favorites, things like that, I will bang out and definitely film for you guys. So please be patient. I really appreciate it. I cannot believe that I almost forgot to, like, completely mention these last few points that I'm going to throw in. The 2 priests in our group were just oh so very, very giving and gracious. One of the fathers, he paid for our gas, like, to and from Orlando, and it was roughly a 7-hour drive. Without any stops, it would have been 7 hours. And then there were 4 cars, I think. Yeah, 4 vehicles in our caravan. And that first day, I failed to mention my day 1 reflective vlog. The other father paid for our lunches, which we had at Applebee's, and it was 14 of us. So, that was very, very nice of him to do. Friday, our dinner, forgot to mention this part, we're smart, and we ordered Chinese and had it delivered to our hotel, or to our resort. Run's Chinese restaurant, something like that. Very smart move on our part, and it actually was pretty good. I don't think it's because I'm half Asian, but I'm very picky when it comes to like fast food Asian food, whether it's fast food Japanese, Chinese, whatever. I don't really eat it that much, and I have to be like seriously craving it. But their Chinese food, Run Run in Orlando, was really good, and it was very affordable, and we basically ordered like 5 different things, and it was enough for 13 of us. One of the fathers, he was busy doing confession, so he couldn't eat with us. But the other father that was with us, he actually did pay for the Chinese food dinner, so that was very nice of him. But a whole side thing that I almost forgot to throw into this vlog. That Friday, I had a very spontaneous moment that I'm thankful for, but I think it was while we were walking outside. I just happened to sign on to Instagram because I was Instagramming pictures that weekend while I was there. And one of my friends, Clayton, I've known him for 4 years now. He used to live where I live, but then he moved to Orlando a little over a year ago. And, you know, he works for Disney, and he normally works, like, in the parks and at certain resorts, which I didn't really think about when I came to Orlando. But he happened to Instagram that he was working at the resort, one of the resorts that I was staying at. And so, you know, I contacted him, you know, I'm here, you know, from home, and he basically convinced me to play hooky for a couple hours, which I did. I ate the Chinese food, and then I quickly dipped out. I think it was roughly like 5:45 or something, and we had a speaker to listen to at 7. And I ended up meeting with him at his work, and he actually took me to downtown Disney, where we spent a couple of days, which is great. He has something that he has going on in his life right now that just happened that day, so it almost seemed like perfect timing, because me spending the couple hours with him allowed him to vent about what he had going on. And, you know, I hadn't seen him in a while, and, you know, it was just, I'll admit, it was kind of fun for me to get away and, like, hang with someone for a couple hours that was a familiar face. And so he took me to downtown Disney, and we ended up going to, like, this Irish pub type restaurant called Raglan Road, which was really cool. We ended up, I didn't eat anything because I just had that Chinese food, but we basically, he ordered a bottle of wine, and we just sat and relaxed. And I do have a picture, Instagram picture, that I'm going to insert, and like a 1-minute video. It was an Irish-style restaurant, and so they have shows where they have Irish dancers and musicians that dance on the stage and stuff like that. I didn't really get any footage of the band because we left before the band started playing, but I did get some footage of the dancers, and I did get Clayton on film, and he says something so sweet in the video. Like, oh, Clayton, you're such a sweetheart. But yeah, I'll insert that clip now.
Oh, wow.
you know, once we were done with our wine, he brought me back to the resort, dropped me off, and I kind of missed like the first 45 minutes of the 7 o'clock keynote speaker, but my group just let me know where they're sitting. Thankfully they were seated like in the front row on the right side, so I was able to find them really easily. And that was it. I jumped right back in with the sync routine, I guess you could call it.
Better go back to the universe. Let's take a ride and time